Hello, and thank you for joining today's Roads and Bridges webcast. Our topic this afternoon is Winning the War for Talent, Strategic Approaches to Recruitment and Retention, sponsored by the American Traffic Safety Services Association, aka ATSSA. I'm Ryan Curtis with Endeavor's Building and Construction Group, and before we dive into the great presentation, let me explain how you can participate in it. If you have any technical difficulties during today's session, simply type your issue into the Ask a Question box and a member of our team will assist you. You can also click on the question mark help button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. We also welcome your questions during today's event. We will answer as many as possible during the Q&A session that will follow the main presentation. But please, feel free to send in your questions at any time. Once again, to do so, simply type your questions into the Ask a Question box and click on the send button. And lastly, please be aware that today's session is being recorded and will be available on the Roads and Bridges website within the next week. You'll be notified by email when the archive is available. Now, it's time to meet today's speaker. Jeani Ringkob is the Chief Growth and Brand Strategist / owner of StoryBuilt, Growth, Strategy, and Marketing. At StoryBuilt, she empowers clients with the tools and insights they need for exceptional business growth. With over 20 years of firsthand experience in construction and business ownership, Jeani knows the challenges her clients face, from operational hurdles to strategic planning pitfalls. We're happy to have you here with us today and share your expertise on the recruitment and retention process. Without further ado, Jeani, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Brian. I'm thrilled to be here, thrilled to be able to present on this topic. It's one that is near and dear to my heart, having grown up in the industry and working with clients and realizing this has escalated as a problem. So before we get started, there's really only two things that you need to know about me. First off, I'm a third generation contractor in the asphalt industry. So I grew up on the road doing the work. I've cleaned the office, I've ran the roller, I've done the sales, all the things, and was fortunate enough to get to go out and work for several other really incredible businesses in the industry, including Coke Industries and some others as they launched new products into the industry. So the roads, the bridges, the paving, all of these things, the asphalt production, the concrete, all of it is near and dear to my heart. And all the people that work in this industry are especially near and dear to my heart. The last thing you need to know about me is I'm an absolute geek when it comes to business strategy, growth, data, tracking metrics, and performance for companies. So without further ado, that really kind of gives you everything you need to know about me. Let's get into what is it going to take to win the war on talent in this new environment that we find ourselves, because I don't think it's ever going to change back to what it was. So this is what I hope for you guys today. If nothing else, if you walk away and you can harness some marketing tactics to build an unparalleled employer brand, or you might call it a talent brand strategy, and an inbound funnel that actually brings great candidates to you. This is one of those things that we can't sit back and wait for. We need to have, just like leads for our clients, we need to have inbound leads for great candidates if we're going to have businesses that are growing consistently. And also, if this does nothing else for you today, if it helps you create and implement an onboarding process that quickly integrates new hires, increases referrals, and enhances retention rates, but as a bonus, I didn't even put it in here, it should increase productivity across the board and accelerate the rate at which new hires can get it productive inside of your business. All right, let's get right in. And this is going to give us a little bit of context, but based on a historical Census Bureau job-to-job flows data, it is estimated that 1.9 million construction workers are going to leave for jobs in other industries this year. 1.9. But guess what? There's good news. So this should offset an actually anticipated 2.1 million workers that are going to leave other industries to work in construction. What this means is there's an opportunity here. So we just look at these numbers like, great, we're going to have enough. But guess what? Everybody is also scrambling for the attention of this workforce and trying to get the cream of the crop. And we are at such a deficit when it comes to demand for the work that we need to be doing and the talent that's still available. So good news, but What I want to say here is there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. People that do not adapt and start building talent brand strategy into their business and implementing this and executing it effectively are going to be the ones that struggle to grow and struggle with profitability. I want to talk about the current workforce that we are trying to recruit, the workforce of the generations that we need so much right now, and the paradox around those generations. I get asked this question a lot, so I think it's super relevant. When we think about the generations that we need to bring in, we're losing a lot of great talent, but we need to bring that talent in, especially when we can overlap that talent. But there's this incredible paradox about this workforce that we need to be working with. They're entitled, yet they're very hardworking. So what I mean by this is work-life balance is crucial to them. They want flexibility and professional commitments, right? Despite expectations of flexibility, millennials are actually motivated and they are willing to work long hours. It is not true that they won't work hard hours. They will in the right scenario. And they aspire to actually be huge contributors to companies, but they won't do it unless the situation is right. So how can we take advantage of this? Minimize repetitive tasks that involve millennials in improving processes for greater efficiency. Utilize their willingness to work long hours, but ensure fair treatment on the backside. How are you going to compensate for that? And encourage and anticipate their desire for generating ideas, being part of it, having opportunities to actually speak up and contribute. So here's another paradox. They're needy, but they're also independent, which is great news. So what this means is that they prioritize both making a positive impact in the world, but they also really want to be appreciated and, receive accolades or award, or at least recognition in their workplace. They like to be a good corporate citizen, and it's really important to them. So how can we take advantage of this paradox? We can ensure transparency about our business and how it contributes positively to the world. Social media is a great way to do this and build a talent brand. And do the analytics around compensation. Understand what's going on in your market, because I guarantee you that they do. They know what's fair, and you need to make sure that you're paying them and that you're aligning compensation with the strategy of the business and what's incentivizing and motivating the group of talent that you want to bring in. So here's another paradox. They're high tech, but they're also high touch. I think this might be my absolute favorite. They are tech savvy. They're willing to figure stuff out. They appreciate technology because it makes them more efficient, which I love. I just had 2 conversations this morning with clients about increasing efficiency for their upcoming workforce. And even though they're reliant on it, they still crave the tangible touch of being in groups, collaborating, and working together. So they like to be part of that community. So how can we take advantage of this? Use their preferred technology skills, understand what they are, allow them to sort that out. And then also allow them to mentor people inside of your company that may be struggling with technology, or they're not adapting very well or adopting technology very well. Let them be mentors and do part of that work and part of that recruitment for you. But as you're doing this, do not forget, even in this stage of remote working, or when we have crews out in the field that we don't get to actually get in front of very often, make sure you prioritize time for in-person communication, especially when it's about certain things. These things are compensation, development, and performance. So make sure you're building that into a system inside of your business. So another one, they're committed, but yep, they're a little unattached too. So research indicates that they can be very committed, but they want to know what career advancement looks like. We have to take time to paint that picture for them. I follow Jesse Cole. He's the owner of the Savannah Bananas, and he had a recent reel that he put out, and it was incredible. What he said, I'm not interested in prospect employees' resumes. I'm interested in their future resume. Where do they want to be in 5 years? Does that align with me? And how can I help them get there? Because if I can do that for them, I can create incredible loyalty and have somebody on my team I know is advancing and accelerating and getting more productive all the time. So that's a great example of taking action. Some other ideas are support and offer training that's going to help them wherever they do have a gap, and ensure that you have compelling reasons for them to stay. Once again, do the analysis around compensation and create and talk about those opportunities for growth as well inside of your organization. All right. So we are going to, I want to go back actually one more because I kind of glazed over this, but also measure and reduce workload to promote work-life balance. And this kind of goes back, if you want, to the technology piece, right? Allow them to find ways to be more productive. We're actually doing an AI for sales and marketing training for a few of our clients. And it's all about how do you make them more efficient at the research piece? And then also, how do you build policies inside of your company about when you can and can't use AI, what's appropriate, what's not, and how it can also make your team more productive, more efficient, and better at what they do. These are the kinds of things that your talent actually really loves. They want to learn this stuff, they want to be efficient, and they need some guidance. So let's talk a little bit, we're kind of switching gears now, and we're going to talk about recruitment. So how do we actually deploy this stuff into our company? We call this an employer brand. I also have heard of it referred to as a talent brand. I might actually like that statement better. But a strong employer brand communicates that an organization is a good employer and a great place to work. Even before we were talking as much about workforce, or if the client that I'm working for is just not focused in that area, if we're talking about brand strategy, it seems fuzzy and it seems like, what is that and why do I need it? Well, it's actually really incredibly important. It's how we're perceived in the hearts and the minds of not only our market, but our competition and also our future employees. They're making judgments about us well before they're even willing to submit an application. Research shows that consumers, including consumers that are looking for a job, are 70% plus on the way to a decision before they're willing to have any kind of direct contact with somebody from a company. That means HR, that means a salesperson if this is a client-facing interaction. So we have to be building that brand and controlling and really guiding what that is and putting it out there. Why is marketing relevant for recruiting and retaining talent? So companies that are using marketing strategies for their recruitment are generating 3 times more leads for positions that they need to fill. They also are showing 10% greater revenue. And they have a higher rate or 100% higher close rate. So what I mean by that is they're attracting the right candidates. I often tell my clients when they start looking at the messaging that we create, because they look at this and they go, I've never seen job descriptions like this. I can't post this. And I say, yes, you can. It is just as important to push away bad candidates that aren't a good fit for your business, for your culture, for your company's objectives, as it is to recruit the best fit candidates. So don't be afraid to lean into that. And when you lean into that, what you're going to find is that the applicants that come to you are going to be great fit candidates, and they're going to be easier for you to acquire and lock in because they already know that they're a good fit for you and you're a good fit for them. You're not trying to compete with somebody else to hire that key person. And then next, let's talk about what would this look like. So we've kind of talked high level and we're getting a little bit more into the trenches now. If you are going to deploy marketing in your business, here's a few of the things. Marketing strategy. So what is the strategy behind it? What is your brand? What do you need to be communicating? What percentage of your marketing content, social needs to be geared towards workforce? All of those things are questions that you need to be asking when your strategy, who's your competition? All of those things really matter. Understanding who they are. A lot of our workforce strategy development actually involves us interviewing current employees and sending out surveys. Your current workforce can actually inform a lot of the strategy that you want to use. which leads us to the next point. They will actually tell you the words that you need to be using to really compel and drive and pull the right kind of people into your team. We have to talk to them on their level, where they're at, addressing their pain points. Everybody wakes up in the morning wanting to be the hero of their own story, right? They don't wake up with the same problems that you woke up with. But if you're desperate to attract high quality talent inside of your company and retain them, you need to understand when they woke up this morning, were they concerned about how they're going to pay for their kids' college? Were they concerned about how they could move their family into a better home? Were they concerned about the expense of caring for their parents? Were they concerned about the lack of a career path moving forward and no opportunity to grow at their current place? What are the things that are driving the people that are the best fit for you? And then translate that into what you're communicating back out. And then with that messaging, what content are you going to be creating? And then from there, you actually build a tangible marketing funnel, just like companies do when they're trying to attract clients online. You need a great landing page that incorporates the strategy and the messaging. A lead generator is actually a great idea. This seems really odd sometimes for workforce, but it can be great. We did a project with Texas Asphalt Pavement Association where they actually created an assessment that helps people decide in the highway paving infrastructure industry, what are the career paths. We actually created personas and avatars for 4 different categories and helped them start to filter into that. Where might I fit? And in that bucket, what might a career path look like for me? Where can I start? Where can I be here? What do I need to do to get there? All of those kinds of things. And people were falling over crazy to take the assessment, submit their information, and then they're driving that directly back to members of ATSSA and AGC Texas and TxDOT. So really cool campaign there. But after you've captured that, you want to continue to stay in contact. Just because somebody showed up doesn't mean they're ready to apply today. So you want to nurture them through emails, text, social campaigns, and all of those things. Here is, I just want to give you guys access right now. This LinkedIn code is my LinkedIn. So if you guys want to grab this real quick, this is where I hang out. And I just wanted to say, if you guys have questions, we're going to talk about questions at the end of this. But if you come up with more questions, or if I talk about research or assets or resources that we have and I don't offer them here to you, you are always welcome to send me a message and say, hey, you talked about this, you mentioned this, or later on, somebody on my team had a question about this. You guys are welcome to reach out to me directly. I would love to connect with all of you on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out. And we're always sharing and updating information, experience from our clients there. But what I wanted to talk about here is it all starts with market research, right? It's just a system that keeps going to build this strategy. Then you build that employer brand that we talked about. And then you create those assets. And once you create those assets, they should be pretty autopilot. It should be integrated into any existing marketing efforts that you're doing. But other than that, those assets should be there working for you and actually doing some of the inbound recruiting. Just like we all want inbound leads for our clients inside of our businesses and our partners, we also want inbound leads that are working for us. So I say we want to invest our money so it's working hard. Build your marketing and your talent brand smart so that it's also working hard when you're sleeping or when you're working on the other things inside of your business. All right, now let's talk just a little bit about messaging. Emotional connection. Stories evoke emotions and people make decisions based on emotions. I know this seems strange when we're talking about highway projects or agency contracts and some of the things that we talk about in our industry, but it's absolutely true. I grew up with inside of a business that had agency contracts, but I still had to go out and sell and get those POs. And that all had to do with personal relationships, the culture, the values, the employee experiences. These are great ways to emotionally connect with people that you want to be sharing and bringing into your company. And then authenticity. We are dealing with a generation that is used to social media. They have grown up with this in their face, and it's never going to get any less. It's only going to become more. They can sniff out a rat. And I'm telling you this as a cautionary tale. Do not promote your brand as something that it is not. People will sniff it out. And if people fall for it and then fall out of it, you can't afford the fallout to the reputation of your company. So learn how to be authentic with the stories that you tell, the content you create, and the employer brand that you're building to attract talent. I have, if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, we're actually going to be doing a 90-day content creation webinar coming up pretty soon. And one of the things we're going to talk about, and I may even try to get her on there as guest speaker, is a colleague of mine that has a whole candid content framework that she uses. And it's a great way to have a couple key people in your company learn how to authentically talk about this and be really candid. It helps them get more comfortable with creating content, and it helps with this authenticity, and it's great for talent and employer branding. And then differentiation. In a flood of people trying to attract talent, how are you going to be different? This is something that really is dialed in during that strategy phase. How are you going to help people? How does your company's mission help people achieve, have impact, build a career, and achieve and accomplish all of those pain points that they woke up with that morning? And then engagement. Make sure you're engaging, right? I asked you guys to send me a message on LinkedIn. That's engagement right there. So make sure that you have somebody actually engaging with people. Getting your existing employees engaging with people that could be talent is also another great strategy. I don't think we're going to get too much into referral programs today. We just don't have time, but that's another great thing to think about. And then retention. This all impacts retention if it's done right. You can create brand ambassadors inside of your company, and that just multiplies the loyalty. This is a really great resource if you're interested in the messaging component. This is a great book that I recommend. I wanted to make sure I gave you guys some resources. So Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. I love it so much that I continue to research, study it, and I'm certified in the process. I think it's one of the best ways to create messaging, so I highly recommend. And I wanted to give you guys resources. We use a story framework to take the strategy, take the messaging of our clients, and help them create better landing pages for careers, job descriptions, postings, all kinds of stuff, referral program, internal information, all of that. The job descriptions, I think, are one of the areas where we can get the most bang for our buck. So I actually created a template that prompts you through writing a very well-structured story-based job description. It's maybe not as perfect and dialed in as going through the entire process A to Z with somebody, but this is a really great way to kind of short that and help your HR team, right? HR probably didn't study copywriting and psychology and storytelling and marketing. So grab this tool. It's a simple Google Doc. You create a copy and it'll help you craft better job descriptions. Take your old one, set this one next to it, go through and try to go through this process. And then if you want to hit me up on LinkedIn, share what you got, get some feedback, I'm always available for that as well. So we have to kind of keep moving, but we're kind of shifting to the operations side, our second objective. And this is onboarding. It's crucial. This will get you the most bang for your buck of anything. If you do nothing else, sit down with your team after this, schedule a time today, determine who you need to bring into that meeting, and start talking about how are we going to improve our onboarding inside of our company. Great employer onboarding can improve retention by up to 82%. Organizations with structured onboarding saw a 60% year-over-year improvement in revenue, and new employees with good onboarding experiences are 18 times more committed to their employers. If you do nothing else, this is what you need to do today, right? Is to think about this. And these numbers should motivate you. You can do as complicated as you want. You can make it as simple as you want. And here's an example of one we created for a company, because I like to address the why, the what, the when, the who, and the how. especially when you're creating this for a team. This is going to be an actual process that lives and breathes inside of their process system, inside of their company. And so if they bring somebody new into recruiting, they need to kind of know, why am I doing this? When? Who's involved? So we built this and fleshed it out for them and answered all of those questions. And it directly links to messaging resources for every step of the way as well. So I would highly recommend you take a peek at this when you get a chance. And I would also align key stakeholders on a clear, effective workforce strategy, right? So if you guys, I love to give this resource out, and it is a workforce strategy assessment. Get everybody on your team that it is relevant for, or that, I'm sorry, I was trying to make sure I got to speed through this. So get everybody in your team, HR managers, operations managers that impacts workforce, have them take this assessment and then compare your results. And remember, good intentions don't pave our roads. We have to take action. So I think we have some questions. Let me open up some space.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for sharing. That was a great presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Of course. Now, there are some questions that have been submitted, but if you'd like to submit a question, simply type your question into the Ask a Question box and hit the send button. So the first question is, how can we measure the success of our employer branding efforts and the effectiveness of our recruitment funnel?
So it depends on the piece and the priority objective that you lay out. Some of this is stuff I work through with clients during the strategy piece. But if you want to measure success, a few of the very common things that we're looking at is, what type of engagement and shares are you getting on social media? So if one of your objectives, if it's increasing engagement there, you might want to track engagement that you're getting, how many people are sharing, how many people are commenting. When it comes to recruiting, we love to see sharing. We love to encourage our internal employees to share. So that's always a really great metric. Another super easy one is, how many applicants are we getting? So if you can see an increase in that. But if you come a little further, think about lead measures versus lag measures, you might want to measure from that. If you're posting links to your new career landing page, you might want to post or start tracking early on how many people are clicking that. And then from that, are we seeing more visits? And from that, are we seeing more applicants? If you can measure and track along the way, sometimes it will show you where somewhere in your funnel things are not optimized or broken or not working as well. So you might have to pick a couple metrics along the way. And that's a great way to see if you're building a recruiting funnel, how it's working. So pick some simple things, but pick a couple spots along that journey. So if something is broken, if something's working really good, but something further down there isn't, you want to make sure that you know where you're going to spend your time and energy optimizing.
Perfect. Next question is, how can a company encourage more employer referrals, and what incentives work best to achieve this?
Yeah. Especially I think in our industry, and I think one of the areas where we've had a lot of success with this is that equipment operators, manual labor, a lot of those areas really can get engaged with this. They love the cash bonuses. We've had a company that did a really, really great job offering incentives, and you might have to do some work and think about, maybe that incentive isn't given right away. And maybe it's, after the employee's been there for a while, but then also they kind of layered it. And I loved this idea. They had cash incentive, and then they had another cash incentive. Everybody's name went into a lottery. And then during the company meeting at the end of the year, which increased engagement in the company meeting. So that was really smart. And it also created more awareness about the referral program. They made a really big deal about doing that lottery and giving a couple more incentives out for people from there. I think the biggest thing with referral programs really is, how are you asking people to do it? Do you have a process? And let me tell you, people are busy and they're not thinking about this on your behalf. Give them the text messages that you want them to send out. Let them know when you have a really great post on your social media. Like if you have a way that you're communicating with your team internally, you're sending texts about work updates, if there's delays, whatever it is, use that to periodically get them engaged and prompt them to take action. One of the things that I always say is we need them to think about referrals when they're not at work, right? When they're at home or at an event or a party or with a friend that might be a great candidate, not when they're at work. We already have those people. So think about the strategy, help craft, give them the words to use to encourage and perpetuate that brand that you put all this work into building.
Perfect. And it looks like we have time for one last question. What role does technology play in recruiting and retaining talent?
So I think when you think about the recruitment side, taking advantage of automating, building a funnel, but creating automations wherever you can so that your team's not manually doing stuff. You can craft a really great nurture sequence that goes out automatically in the emails after they've opted into a resource on your career page, because maybe they're not ready to leave their job yet. Maybe they're still in that exploring stage where they're trying to get to 70% sure that they want to take that leap with you. So that's a really great way to do that. And technology lets us create these assets once and use them over and over and over again. And they're constantly working for us. And then another way, from a different angle, talk about the technology you're using inside of your business. We talked about that paradox, and they are high tech, but high touch. They love companies, and construction's kind of known for not, being a little behind the curve on using technology sometimes. So if you're using technology, talk about it. Those are great content stories or emails.
All right. Well, perfect. With that, I'm afraid we've run out of time. For those questions we didn't have time to answer, we'll be getting back to you via email. And that concludes today's webcast. On behalf of Roads and Bridges, I'd like to thank Jeani for sharing such great information with all of us, ATSSA for sponsoring today's event, and of course, all of you for joining. Have a great rest of the day.